Have you ever actually stopped to wonder what makes a town tick? And I don't just mean the history you'd skim through in a textbook, but the real, day-to-day operational reality of a community. Well, today we're diving into a fascinating look at the anatomy of a hometown, and we're using the Marion, Arkansas Business and City Directory as our literal blueprint. Now, on the surface, a directory might just look like a dry list of names and numbers. But for those of us who love figuring out how things are structured, it is an absolute treasure trove of data. It shows us exactly how a community governs itself, sustains its economy, and ultimately builds a life for its residents. So, let's start unpacking the blueprint of Marion. Picture this. Marion is a place defined by this really striking juxtaposition. On one hand, you have a modern water tower silhouetted against the glowing sunset, which acts as this great symbol of municipal planning. But then, literally just steps away, you've got these vast fields of blooming white cotton that represent deep, historical agricultural roots. Here, community development and agriculture are completely seamlessly integrated. It's this unique blend of modern infrastructure and natural resources that really defines the whole character of the town right from the moment you arrive. All right, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Welcome to Marion. 2. The town foundation. 3. Exploring the map. 4. The economic engine. And 5. Main Street pulse. Section 1. Welcome to Marion. Okay, so every structured community kind of needs a thesis, right? A guiding principle. Well, according to the Chamber of Commerce, their vision is to build a vibrant business community with an excellent quality of life for all residents in and around Marion. I want you to keep this aspirational statement in the back of your mind as we go. This is the ultimate goal. Everything we're about to look at, from the city council to the local bakery, is theoretically working together to achieve this exact vision. So, who exactly are we building this quality of life for? Well, a population of 12,844 residents. And that number is actually crucial because it anchors our whole narrative today. Marion isn't some sprawling, anonymous metropolis, and it's not a tiny one-stoplight village either. It's a solidly mid-sized hometown. It's that Goldilocks zone where community initiatives can have a really visible, immediate impact on everyday people. And a huge defining characteristic of this community is its median age, which is just 35.1 years old. Now, in the world of community planning, age dictates absolutely everything, from business viability to exactly what public services are most needed. This youthfulness points to young professionals and growing families who are actively building their careers and establishing roots in the local school system. Rounding out this demographic snapshot is the median home value, coming in at $145,953. When you pair that with a median household income of just over $58,000, it paints this really clear picture of middle-class stability and accessibility. And that sets the perfect economic stage for the local businesses we're going to explore in just a bit. Moving on to Section 2, the Town Foundation. Governance in Marion is super organized. It starts with a core leadership team, a mayor and 6 city council members, working alongside the city treasurer and city clerk. But what's really brilliant here is the transparency and the access. Residents know exactly when and where decisions are getting made. It's the 4th Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m., right inside City Hall at 14 Military Road. This is exactly where the sort of abstract idea of government becomes a tangible, physical meeting that you can actually walk into and attend. The City of Marion's diamond logo is actually a perfect visual summary of this foundation. It integrates roads, railways, water access, and agriculture all into one cohesive design. This central hub coordinates an incredibly interconnected web of vital services. We're talking everything from the police and fire departments to the water department, Parks and Rec, and the Woolfolk Library. It takes a massive amount of behind-the-scenes administration to actually provide that excellent quality of life we talked about earlier.
All right, Section 3, Exploring the Map.
When we zoom out and look at the physical blueprint of the city limits, those major logistical arteries just immediately pop out. Interstate 55 and US Highway 64 aren't just roads to drive on, they're massive channels connecting Marion directly to the broader national economy. And you can clearly see how the residential neighborhoods kind of fan out and integrate themselves right around these crucial intersections and commercial zones. Now, dotted all across that map are the civic anchors and commercial hubs that really define a resident's daily routine. You've got your civic staples, right? Places like City Hall and the U.S. Post Office. But then you also have the Sultana Disaster Museum, which points to this incredibly deep, unique local history sitting right in their backyard. And of course, you've got those essential commercial hubs like the Marion Marketplace and the Walmart Neighborhood Market. This is where history, local governance, and your Tuesday evening grocery run all physically intersect.
Section 4, the economic engine.
So how does Marion actually sustain itself? It pulls off this brilliant balancing act. On one side of the equation, you have these deep agricultural roots driven by massive operations like the Quiddenton Gin Company, East Cotton Company, and Turner Planting Company. But operating literally side by side with those cotton gins are heavy-hitting modern logistics and manufacturing centers. We're talking Hino Motors Manufacturing, a massive family dollar distribution center, and the Robert Bosch Tool Corporation. This dual-engine approach, harvesting straight from the earth while also acting as a super-modern supply chain hub, is exactly what gives this town its immense financial muscle.
But sometimes a community blueprint throws you a real curveball. Tucked right in among the cotton fields and the distribution centers is the Tier 1 group, located over on Angeletti Road. They actually provide advanced military and law enforcement training. It's a highly specialized, totally unique economic driver that you definitely wouldn't expect to just stumble across. It just goes to show that a town's business landscape is often way more diverse and complex than it appears at first glance.
Which brings us to Section 5, Main Street Pulse.
Now, this entire local ecosystem doesn't just happen by accident. It's actively fostered by the Marion Chamber of Commerce. Established way back in 1967, this organization has been tasked for over half a century with promoting commercial growth for small businesses. They're essentially the civic champions trying to ensure that all the wealth generated by those big economic engines we just talked about actually trickles down to sustain a thriving, vibrant local culture.
And you can totally see that effort paying off in a vibrant retail landscape filled with independent businesses. Whether you're shopping for apparel and gifts at the Mary Magnolia right on Military Road, or the Front Row Boutique, taking some time for self-care at Salon de la Hunt, or browsing specialty tech at Morrison's Audio and Video, these aren't just storefronts, they're the collision points of the community. They are the actual physical manifestation of that excellent quality of life the town is always striving for. These are the places where neighbors run into each other and build real relationships.
Let's move to the social side of the blueprint for a second. Where does the community actually gather to eat, hang out, and relax? Imagine starting your morning, grabbing a fresh coffee and a pastry at Mauricen's Danish Bakery over on Elm Street. Maybe later, you grab lunch at a local staple like Tacker's Shake Shack. And for larger-scale entertainment, Southland Casino and Racing is just a stone's throw away. Together, all these spots form a complete, thriving day-in-the-life cycle for a Marion resident.
But wait, here is a really critical piece of the puzzle that we cannot overlook. Local financial institutions, like the Fidelity National Bank branch. Why does their prominent presence matter so much? Simply put, banks are the lifeblood of small business. They are a massive indicator of community trust and steady capital flow. They're providing the loans that open up the new boutiques, expand the local bakeries, and buy the heavy tractors for that agricultural sector we discussed earlier.
So we've essentially just dissected an entire community's anatomy simply by analyzing its foundational blueprint. We looked at its youthful population, its highly organized governance, its unique dual-engine economy, and all the incredible local businesses that give it life on Main Street. It really makes you realize that these directories and blueprints are actually living historical documents hiding right in plain sight. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder today. If you were to evaluate your own town's blueprint right now, if you looked at the businesses, the infrastructure, and the demographics, what would it tell you about your community's future? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.